Joining us today, we've got Ioana Teleanu. Most of you may know her from UX Goodies, which has a following of more than I think you're out at more than 300,000 now, aren't you, on UX Goodies?
Yeah, it depends what channels you count. So I have 50,000 something on LinkedIn, and then like altogether, I think it's the 300,000 people.
Yeah, it's a lot. If you work in product, UX, design, AI, there's a good chance that you have cross paths with Ioana in some way or another. And I have known Ioana for a couple of years now, and we have done events together before. One of the first events we did together was about AI, actually. And I remember it was 2 years ago, and AI was still just sort of ChatGPT. And that was this. And now you are becoming really a leader in this space. So, you did a pretty long stint at Miro recently. And why don't you just tell everybody who you are and what you're working on now? And yeah, just a bit about yourself. Well,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, please.
Thank you, Nicole. First of all, I'm very happy we're having the conversation together again because you've always felt like the perfect partner to surface the most interesting ideas I have. Because sometimes, like, right, you need external enablers to reach your best inner content. So you've done that for me in the past. So I'm happy we get to do it again. And for everyone who's here, I am, yes, a product designer, but now I was recently at an event in San Francisco. Adobe invited me to this AI VIP summit of creators, and we had to give a round of intros, right? And so when I started attempting to describe who I am and what I do, it became like I had this for the first time in my life. I had a lot of ambiguity and confusion around what the answer should be. So I would say that I'm right now in a transitional career phase where I'm really redefining and playing around with all the elements that make my professional identity and reshuffling them. And yeah, it's just a moment where I find it very hard to describe what I do. But I still believe I am a product designer. I have worked at Miro as the first product designer in the AI team. They hired me as the first AI designer. And that was an extremely important and meaningful experience in my professional life. And then before that, I worked as the lead product designer for a product called Clipboard AI within UiPath. And that product ended up winning Time Magazine's Best Invention of 2023. And we were using LLMs before ChatGPT was launched. So it was pretty, at that time, state of the art visionary work. And I teach the largest AI for course on AI for designers. I'm running UX Goodies, and now I have a lot of very interesting projects coming up, mostly in the educational space, because I feel that there's a huge gap in the market around um, how do we design for AI? Like the information is starting to be put out there by smart people in the industry, but it fails to we don't have a single source of truth. Like we don't have this place where we go to interrogate our own design decisions and thinking and rationale and kind of judge our process against some sort of maybe standards or just yeah. Where do we go to build clarity when we're designing for AI? And this is the let's say challenge I'm setting myself up for in the next coming months.
Thank you. And I know it's so important right now because even in the last 2 years since we had our first conversation about AI and design, and now it's something so different, right? We had Bromley John on last month and he was talking about 97 different product onboarding tools he tested out, like AI tools, right? So now we went from a few to now 97, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. But one thing that always remains is that there is a human on the backside using them, and there's a human that's going to be actually receiving the information as well. And I know you're going to be speaking about this possibly at South by Southwest as well. So you're also a very human, empathic designer and person as well. So what I want to know first is we have all these AI insights, and how can we integrate them without losing that empathy within our users? Like, how do we still stay human right now?
Yeah, well, it's a complex question, and I think there are multiple angles through which we could look at this problem space. But I feel that what AI is bringing us in informing our design decisions, one of the things that AI is bringing us is offering is this data. So now we can learn faster and we can build prototypes and we can build products or early versions of products, put them out there, learn from usage, spot patterns, anomalies, make predictions. So there's a lot of informational richness that's starting to emerge available for designers to make better decisions. But I think a lot of the industry is getting kind of drawn into that space of smarter decisions, AI informed decisions, AI informed processes. And then we're neglecting the conventional or traditional way of gathering insights, which is, I think, more important than ever. So we really need to pair all this kind of knowledge that comes through AI in informing our thinking with actual conversations with people. So we are like, as the whole tech industry is under a lot of pressure to move faster than ever, to deliver results, to win the AI race, to have AI in their products, to be, I don't know, AI first. And so you've probably seen my post about a San Francisco AI billboard friendly. Like it's crazy. Everybody talks about AI everywhere. But in that, we're starting to miss our connection with the essence of the design and product development process, which is human centeredness, like involving people in that process. AI is giving us a lot of quick routes to an answer or a decision. But what we have to permanently go back to is involving real people in the process. And I think I can see the industry is shaking a little bit in this aspect of still valuing interviews and field studies and diary studies and really talking to actual people when they're making design decisions. So I think that's the first thing we need to do as a whole, like go back to conventional, just talk to people. And it sounds like a cliche, but there's no other way around it, right? The nuances, the sophistication of a person can't be captured by statistical, homogeneous data that AI puts forward about humanity, right? So that's just, let's say, an archetypal or just a statistical representation, but the human nuances and the human yeah, the unpredictability of a person and the quirks and all that's interesting when you're designing for people is left behind. It's is often not captured in those bodies of data or available information. So we have to go and find it out in the wild, talking to real people. So, and then also one other thing I want to add is like how we all need to embed some sort of stage in our design process that I think we can call the empathy check or the human check. Like at some point in the process, at multiple points, hopefully, just stop and pause and ask, is this feature or is this design work driven by tech or driven by human needs and helping someone? How would the person using this experience feel when they're using it? Like things that were kind of implicit a couple of years ago, now they're not anymore because we're rushing to just use the technology that's available, use it in whatever way, like have a chat in there that surfaces GPT, right? So, like empathy checks all along the design process.
I mean, that could be a really interesting piece as well to learn more about, like, what would that even consist of? Like, is there any framework right now that it exists that can guide, this empathic or ethical AI design decision making in like the real world? Like, is there anything like that that exists right now?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of initiatives in the industry and even outside the industry, like at a larger scale. Like there's the European Union AI Act that's trying to do part of that. And then the large companies, at least at a, like, say, no level, surface level, right? They're trying to come up with frameworks that protect the ethical nature of how we should be doing tech. I know Google has this initiative that's called Pair People for AI research, and they're putting out their guidelines for how to make ethical decisions and so on. Microsoft has human AI guidelines that also kind of embed a lot of ethics in it. Like influential institutions in the AI space like IDEO also came up with an ethical checklist, I think. And so a lot of players in the market, especially the big ones that have impact, are trying to bring this ethical conversation at the forefront. But the reality of capitalism is that these initiatives often get left aside. Like somebody reads them once and then they forget about it because then the CEO of I don't know what company comes in and says we need AI by next Monday. And so, how do you really strive to even the way designers are being now hired in the market, the skills that are valued are speed of execution, taste, aesthetics, moving quickly, operating in complex environments. Nobody's really hiring for ethics. Is this person really right? That's not something the tech scene is optimizing for in the way they move fast. They're not optimizing for ethics. So even though these guidelines exist, they're not, from my standpoint, they're sufficiently insufficiently used. So that how can we change that? Like it's great that they exist. They should be socialized more often. And I think this is a leadership problem. So it's a of course we can only do so much as individuals and we do have an individual responsibility and power. We can come in the process and perform the ethical checklist and perform the ethical checks I was talking about and surface those conversations, encourage them and lead them. But if leadership is like, no, ship it tomorrow, then there's going to be a disconnection and it's never going to be at the center stage if companies don't care about that. So we should be like the leadership in tech should incentivize ethics. I don't know how that might work, but look at Anthropic. Anthropic is at least again on like conversational messaging ethos kind of level. They're really talking about ethics and they're trying to be a bit more humane. And yeah, I think we need more of that.
I agree. And at UX Cam, our CEO, Sylvanus, who's on right here, he's also very vocal, very active. We're building something like embedded within our session recordings. She's called Tara. And so Tara will, go through the data and like basically watch session recordings for you. And one of the things we found sort of in the testing and sort of in the beta of this was that we were getting a lot of great information. So ChatGPT was making it, not ChatGPT, sorry. The AI was saying, do this, and it all sounds great. But we actually had to go in, talk to customers, look through the data ourselves. Like it wasn't just like, okay, this works and that's great. Let's just put it out. So that's what we've had to be doing for the last months is actually going in, working with customers. And so none of that goes away, right? You get the data, you get the insights, but actually if you work in product, it gives you actually even more time to be with your customers and say, "Hey, does this work? Does this not work? And here's how we can help you do your job even better." So I love that you're bringing that up. And most of the conversations I have with influencers like yourself in product or UX, they all say the same thing. There's no way you can get around with not talking to people. And there's no way you can just say, okay, we take the data from AI and then it's done, right? It just doesn't work that way. So the New York Times has done a lot of great articles on this too, about how people are not going to be like AI will take, some of the juniors jobs and some of the, grunt work jobs and things like that. But things like taste, ethics, empathy, those are things that cannot be replaced by a non-sentient being as well. So I'm curious, that was a bit of a tangent there. What ways AI might take away sort of a designer's creative intuition, taste, and originality. And I know you're also an artist too. So maybe help us out with this.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that came to mind when you asked this question was a recent small short story that I have been the main character in. Like I was generating things with Midjourney very enthusiastically, and I was kind of crafting these very complex prompts and thinking about what keywords to use in there so I achieved the vision I had in my mind. And it was in a way intentional and driven by me and very, I don't know, there was an effort there, right? Not the effort you would have put in to create art with conventional technology. So it was much faster. I was just writing my vision, but still there was an effort. And then a couple of days, very late, very, very late to using Midjourney, I discovered that it can just say, use this, and this image, like give it two, three, four, five references and tell it to just combine them into something. and the results were gorgeous. And I was like, oh my God, why am I not doing this? And then I started doing it, this and this, and now this and this, and now try this with it. And at some point, I kind of had this sudden existential crisis. Like, what am I even doing here? Is this creative anymore? I'm just literally hitting a button. Generate, 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 generate. It's zero effort. Like, it's just pointing out at things and saying something like that, and now something like that. It felt horrible, and it kind of very suddenly felt joyless. And I feel that this is something that
Yeah.
we will have to internally fight with as designers, as creators, as artists. Like, technology makes it very easy to achieve um, when it comes to Midjourney, right? Visual beauty, and maybe in the future it will make it easy to achieve great UI, or I don't know, a perfectly beautiful, usable website. But then if we just resort to handing over complete agency, complete autonomy, complete imagination, right? To those agents, to that agentic interface, or I don't know, whatever assistive technology we use out there, right? Then what are we really doing? Are we still part of that creation? We just press generate. And so I feel that the only way to kind of counter fight that sameness and the fact that technology will produce similar outputs based on what it has been trained on, right? And if we still wanted to feel, like I was saying earlier, quirky and unexpected and a bit weird and a bit even off, like at this point, right? So people, and I also sometimes smile when I see a typo in a caption because I know, so it's probably not GPT, or at least that part. And then it's the same with imperfect products. And I was listening to a podcast by Savannah, who is she was a guest on, I think, whatever. I think maybe read Dive Club podcast. So she's the emerging technology leader at Ideal, and she mentioned the fact that talking to new generations, they want to have bad experiences. And that was really interesting for me. Like, they want to have the bad date, they want to have the bad website, they really cherish that imperfectness of interactions and experiences. And so I think that we will need, as designers, to kind of get back control. And even if it's less perfect, even if it's much slower, even if it's not as beautiful, the magic is in the human implication in that process and in the eventual output, right? So, but it's a decision. So I think we need to be intentional, because otherwise you can very easily be swept into like just automating things and offering, just giving up on agency. And so one of the themes I've submitted for South by Southwest next year is called dreaming machines, so machines that dream, and imagination as the interface. So I really feel that what should drive all of the work of the future is our human imagination, regardless of the technical possibilities to simulate that. I still feel that the value is in surfacing our inner vision and putting it out in tech design, whatever decisions. So, yeah, how do you do that in practice? Because I don't want to be too abstract. Use AI sparingly. Like, just don't
Yeah.
overuse it, and maybe do something on your own and then run it by AI, or provoke it. Like, ask AI to challenge whatever you did and maybe bring a new angle, but come up with your thing, your artifact, and then challenge it and refine it with AI. Because otherwise, if you give up creation and AI does everything, can you even enjoy it?
Then it's like cognitive overload. I know Sylvanus, again, our founder, he stresses this a lot. Like, okay, you get the information, but are you challenging it? And he's like, are you challenging it? He's always talking about you got to challenge it back. You got to challenge it back. You got to challenge it back. Otherwise, you're just sort of like, okay, yeah, sure. And then you get all this information, as you say. There's no, I don't know. There's no like you're just like, ugh, whatever, right? And you just kind of go on to something else, and then you just sort of move on. And in behavioral psychology, people are always going to relate to and trust people that make mistakes and that are imperfect. You know, I sent a DM to someone on LinkedIn last week, and afterwards I saw a typo in there and I was like, yes. Like, I didn't use any AI or ChatGPT in it. Whereas maybe 5 years ago I would have been mortified and totally embarrassed. Now I'm like, I don't even, this is great. Now she knows that I didn't actually use ChatGPT or anything to write this. Not that saying that that's bad to use ChatGPT
Exactly.
to do
I
anything.
don't wanna
It's
shame
not.
people who use it. I
It's
use
not
it.
bad. I use it too sometimes. Me
Yeah.
too. But I was kinda like, "Yeah, cool." Like, it's not. So, I think also this is a really great time to be a creator, a designer, working in product, working as a writer because you can really stand out right now. It's kinda easy to stand out if you put in effort and imagination, as you say, you can really shine. So, okay, we're already getting to 25 minutes, and I want to keep this conversation going. So, to all the people online with us right now, if you have questions for Ioana, please start adding them to the chat right now before I go into the next question. One thing that comes up a lot is this fatigue of AI. There's so many tools, there's so many products. We've got to get things out fast. There's just kind of overwhelm. People are sick of hearing about AI. So, if you work in design, how can you sort of go the opposite of this fatigue and overwhelm? Like, what can you do against AI right now to actually just go back to like your core values as a designer? Any tips?
Yeah, really interesting question because it prompted me to an interesting answer. So thank you again, Nicole. The first thing that came to mind now is this festival I was at earlier this year in Amsterdam. It's called AI and Design Festival. And by its title, I thought it was going to be very techy and we're going to do things with technology and talk about technology. And then when I went there, I saw that I looked more carefully at the agenda and it was like astral projections and esoteric uses and spiritual and a lot of really wacky things that were very interesting. And then what we ended up doing was handwork. Like I was at this conference about AI and I made three collage work, like signs and cutting magazine, cutting paper, working with our hands. And then I didn't really reflect on what's going on. I was just going with that creative flow. But then at the end of it, I was like, what just happened here? So I was here for 3 days at this AI conference and I was doing more handwork than ever before. Like maybe in kindergarten, I had a similar level of creating things with my hands. So, and then I realized that that's such a good way of disconnecting from the kind of machinery we're part of now, right? So the devices, the AI surface, right? This technosphere of things that are we are now connected to. Social media, the people we talk with and their virtual avatars, even if they're real people, like everything that's going on in a way is virtual, right? And is happening on a computer or on a mobile device. And so the best way to kind of so not just go out and walk in the park and spend time with your family, that's implicit, I hope, but also do work on paper. Like do work in the physical space. Do your work in the physical space. I always keep my notes on in pencil because it makes me feel like I'm still in this real space and whatever design decision I put on a computer or in an interface, this digital surface, it comes from the reality and someone is experiencing it in the physical realm. I just do these very well, not all the time, right? I have a really bad screen time. Like if you look at my screen time, you would say you should see a doctor. Like I'm not very good at disconnecting from these surfaces, but I've learned that what kind of inspires my thinking in solving problems for technology is moving outside of technology and doing things around that problem in some other medium, like drawing, sketching, stuff that again we used to do them. They were implicit a while back, but now we sketch our ideas with GPT. We don't sketch them on paper. We kind of start from a draft and then we refine it technology again. In the past, it used to be sticky notes. I don't know who's doing physical sticky notes. I hope many people still are, but I'm afraid not many, right? Even the sticky notes are in Miro and everything happens within that technology. And so the only way to kind of counteract the fatigue is kind of to move some of the work outside of this space that is very noisy and overwhelming and so on. So, but still, I'm not talking about relaxing and disconnecting and taking care of your mental health. I'm talking about moving work parts outside of the technosphere. And another thing that you can do is limit consumption. Choose a short list of people you feel are trustworthy and then focus on just that trying to keep up to date with everything will only make you feel lost, demotivated, overwhelmed. And just, you don't have to be up to date with everything. You just don't. So give up on that KPI, renounce it completely, and just choose the people you feel inspire you, are trustworthy, are saying interesting things, and curate very, very intentional. You have to curate and cut off noise. So, what I do is whenever I see something
Yeah,
that I
totally.
feel is overhypey or is super salesy or is, I don't know, I unsubscribe brutally and with merciless, right? Because otherwise, it's just you become overwhelmed very quickly. And yeah, I think another thing we can do as product designers to help people is to build products that are light, like they're nice to use. They don't add to that overwhelm. We don't send them 100 notifications just to get them to use the product. We are mindful. We are just, again, not contributing by the way we make product decisions, not contributing to this universal overwhelm.
I love that, and that is so aligned with you and everything I know about you because even when you look at your content, I know when I look at your content, you don't have somebody doing it for you. Even though you are so busy, you work like a zillion hours, you have all these brands and everything that you work for, and you won't even do like, you can't even let a company like advertise for you. So that's another way of staying human. So to anyone listening here, especially product people and designers who are building their own brands or who work for, maybe enterprises or, companies that have, lots of OKRs and metrics and everything to report to, ethics, mindfulness, and actually creating for humans and still being a good human is something that is valuable and we shouldn't throw that away for, these capitalism, anything. This isn't like some anarchist rant or anything like that too, but it's still people on the other end receiving everything. Sorry, I'm seeing questions coming in, so I'm getting also distracted here. One question before we go into some other, actually, this came up, it's really great. She'd like to know, this is from Anne. I'd like to know who both of your favorite women in tech to follow are.
Interesting. Is it from Anne Cantera?
Yeah.
She's my favorite. She's great. She's doing a lot of free work, voluntary. Everybody should follow her. She's putting a lot of amazing disambiguating content for free. Yeah, she's one of them. But then also, I'm finding it hard to kind of reach feminine voices in this space, to be completely honest. I used to say, I didn't really think about this problem in the past, but now in tech, like even being in San Francisco and joining a lovable meetup, like it was mostly a room of men. And sometimes you look at these product team photos and it's just men. And I find it very hard to women. I can really, I don't know, find like this is the leading voice. Of course, Erica Hall, she's very critical of AI and she's very articulate and I appreciate that nuance. I think she's a bit too rejective of technologies, but I still feel she has incredible critical thinking skills and she's voicing a lot of important aspects that we need to be careful with. I also discovered, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna think of a list of people and maybe share it because it's important to support one another. Yeah.
Yeah, I normally don't jump right into the audience questions like that so quick, but I thought it was such a great question to ask, Anne. So thank you. For me, I'll be really brief. Probably my favorite are Alina Vandenberg from Chili Piper. So she's very, very human, writes all her own posts, and that there's no AI or people writing for her as well. And she's actually Romanian as well. And
Wow.
she also has really great perspectives on everything to do with tech. And she's a founder as well. And probably actually, there's so many. I don't even want to go into it right now. Tina number one, Ioana as well. She actually got me really interested in design and UX design and product from somebody who came from a journalistic and editorial background. I've actually, and low key kind of a, designer at heart as well too. So there you go. So great list. There we go.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
so
wanna just
go ahead.
sorry, now
No,
you
please.
open so I wanna add Emily Campbell to the list. She hasn't been very active recently, I think, on social, maybe she never was, but she built this place called The Shape of AI, And if you want to visit it, it's like Shape of AI. That's the website. Shape of dot AI. And she also kind of was one of the voices that when I met in person, I left very inspired. And I felt that she really gets the AI space both from a design and a technical perspective. And she's doing a lot of work in trying to just help us build clarity among all that hype, right? And she's great. Emily Campbell. Yeah, should be on my list always.
Anne also mentions here that we need UX researchers. And so, did you ever work as a researcher before? I don't remember.
Not as a specialized researcher, well, officially a researcher, but I have been doing a lot of research as a product designer because it's rare to have your research team, especially in my early years doing product design. And then at Miro, of course, we had researchers. I actually worked with a couple of extremely talented women researchers in AI, but they're not very vocal online. So that's the thing. A lot of the most important work is doing beyond the curtains, behind the curtains. So we don't really see what's going on. But yeah, research is also important because again, people are rushing and they're forgetting the quintessential part of design, which is understanding the problem space, figuring out why you're solving that problem. Is it the right problem? What's the right way to solve it? And so on. And so, yeah, we're just jumping into technology trains all around, but the research voice should still lead the intentionality of product development. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious as well, like how, if you're on a product team right now, like how can you measure progress beyond speed and efficiency? Like how can you even add something soft like well-being and satisfaction and just sort of like just feeling clear on what you're doing?
Yeah, this is an amazing question because it really raises one of the most painful things in tech right now, which is the incentives behind our products decisions and the new features. Like a question that I've had an immense learning experience at Miro. And one of the most important insights or revelations that I've had during my time there was at some point asking, wait. What are we incentivizing for here? What are we encouraging people to do in a space where they come to collaborate with other people? Like, if we summarize sticky notes for them with AI, doesn't that defeat the purpose of the sticky note, which is already something quintessential and like the essence of an idea? Do we want to like do we want to deprive them of having to go through each of the sticky notes and with their human mind reflect on what it says and what it means and what might right how it connects to the other system of notes, right? So that was one thing, like, and then we were trying to, like, as the AI team, prove that the AI features are being used, but is it a good thing? Is it the right thing to encourage in a product? Like, if people come to Miro, which is a collaboration tool, and use more AI, isn't that harmful instead of beneficial? Like, what does it mean if they use more AI? It means they're not doing conventional human collaboration. Right? So it's tricky. At the same time, yes, you come to a Miro board and it's like super overwhelming. There's like 100 of things in there. It's extremely messy. AI could help you clean up all that mess, right? So there's a very fine line. But the thing is, beyond speed and just helping people be more efficient, be more productive, or helping you get to I don't know what result faster. This is like the kind of ethos that I feel the tech AI features have right now. I think that to your point, there should be like a softness metric. Like, how do people feel when they use this? Do you really want to make them feel like they're using AI, or do you want to feel like it's just something invisible, like almost ambient that supports them? And there should it be like loud? We have sparkles for AI, or should it be more, let's say, subtle in an experience? So I think that we need a system of metrics, right? We need a better system of metrics and incentives when we're making decisions. And to your point, softness could be like some attributes that fall underneath that, right? So, how do you feel? Is this a quiet experience or was it draining? We're not really measuring for that. We're measuring for efficiency and productivity and how many things can you do in an hour? You have to do 110 times, right? Everybody says, like, I've been seeing this 10 times, 10x, 10x, 10x. Everybody's like 10x. Is it the right angle? I personally think it's not. But yeah, well being maybe should be something that we also measure, right? So just well-being metrics and whatever falls under that should be defined by each of the products, nuances and particularities and the specific problem they're solving.
Yeah, like what we're as well, what we're building at UX Chem with our AI is that so that it'll be quiet, background, ambient. So you get all the data you need, you know what steps you have to take to change. So it's not something that feels invasive or oh god, it's coming at me and it's so fast and I don't know what to do with all this information. You're like running a race and then you can't cognitively even process any of it as well. We are like 100,000% backing that too.
Yay.
Ooh, the
Start.
softness metric. Did I coin something new today, Anne? So we have a question here from actually some more questions coming in. And this is from Elena from Moldova. Hello. This is a question about Figma. How do you think they are doing with implementation of AI? And are you happy with some of the features they've introduced?
It's a painful question because
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
yeah, well, I don't know what to say. I think the direction might be good. So I think that, like from a business perspective, at least, right? They're trying to take up more space in the way we build products and the things we tasks we have when building products. So sites and slides and make and right. So they're code and they're moving into that direction of taking up more space so they become a bigger company. I think all companies are trying to achieve that. So from a business standpoint, it looks like it makes sense. Now, from an experience standpoint, I don't know. It's the future. Definitely, we will see generative generating the UI is one other kind of concept where the UI you're using is generated on the spot. But also generating UI with AI is something that's probably going to be a very basic part of our processes in a couple of years now. So they're in the right direction. But right now, again, I'm not using Figma as I used to because I've stepped a little out of classic product design, working in a big team where we have to kind of use the same Figma file and collaborate and hand it off to developers and so on. So now I'm doing more of my artsy projects and content things. And so I don't need to generate UI, right? The things I'm building for, I know the UI. I'm not that kind of user so much. And I think not many designers are. I don't think designers will need anytime soon to kind of like, can AI tell me how this should look like in terms of the visual layer? Or, yeah, sure, give it a wireframe and say what's wrong here and how would you improve this? But I still feel that, at least as a senior designer, you have agency, you have vision, you can arrive at a much better result without using AI to generate something for you. So I'm not sure who their persona is. I'm really like the designers I've been talking to are not really using Figma Make. I haven't really heard one strong story of, yes, I'm using it and it's super useful. And I haven't heard that yet, but we'll see how this progresses. Like, I feel like they're also kind of, they have to play that the AI game. So yeah, we'll see what that goes. For now, I'm not impressed, but I shouldn't be, I guess.
Always love your strong points of view. It's great. Here's actually a really interesting question. As AI takes on more design decisions, how important is it for UX designers to deepen their understanding of cognitive psychology?
Nice question. I really feel like it's a very interesting question. Let me think about it. So, deepen our knowledge on cognitive psychology. I think that's always useful, like not just as a designer, but also as a human. So, it's something worth investing in just to get to know yourself and your loved ones. And of course, then your users if applied in the professional space. If it's the main thing I would focus on, like I think that what we need to kind of force upon ourselves in 2025 and beyond this point is this idea of focus. Like choose one thing that you feel is critical and then really try to focus on that because the world will try to kind of uh, pull your attention in all parts, and you're gonna get attacked with information. It's noise, it's overwhelm, it's just constantly fighting for your attention everywhere you go, in the product you use, on social media. It's been happening for a long time and so on. So now you really need to be focused on one thing and choose what you want to focus on. Deepening your understanding of cognitive psychology, again, is something that can help you kind of combine the nuances of understanding how a person's brain works much better than, because like in my mind, what I was thinking is, will AI do that? Like, will you be able in a couple of years to just go to AI and ask it, what's going on in this person's head? So here's a conversation with a person. What do you think? Like, what's their attachment style, or what is their, I don't know what, what their main trauma, and what can you tell me about how they show up at work? And so you might be able to do that with AI, but again, I don't think it's going to capture necessarily the some nuances and put together the kind of deep understanding of cognitive psychology with that person's ecosystem, their behavior, the tools they use, the life they live. And so yeah, it's absolutely worth it. Would it be the first thing I would do now? I'm not sure what the first thing I would do now would even be. So, yeah, but it's on the short list, definitely. So, if you're drawn towards that, do it.
Cue. We have time for one more question, and it is, how can AI help you make better UX, and which tools do you use?
Yeah. Well, like always, this answer is not impressive. I use a lot of LLMs. I have been mostly a good friend of ChatGPT 4.0, as many of us or all of us very disappointed in GPT-5, but now I think it's getting better. Just in recent days, I found for the first time it gave a superior answer to 4.0. So I use GPT a lot, and I've also tried using Anthropic's Claude because I believe in Anthropic as a company. I think they're a company and more ethical and just nicer, and less capitalistic and evil. And so I'm trying to use Claude, but Claude is more nuanced and a bit softer. And so for very quick things, I'm still, and plus, there's also that conversation of now GPT has a memory of the most important things about me, previous conversations. It has a lot of context and it kind of gets me better, if that makes sense. Not me as a person, I don't really feel understood, but it has a lot of knowledge about me, which is like, you don't want to switch your therapist at some point because you would have to tell your life story once again, and that's like a big a sunk cost, and also a big effort. So it's the same with LLMs. At some point, we're going to get stuck in that ecosystem because it's just too hard to move into a new ecosystem and give that context once more. So LLMs, I use them. I've recently included something in my workflow called Granola AI. Granola is very loved by designers on the internet because it kind of listens into your conversations and then uses AI to help you process what had happened in that conversation. Like, it's a note taker that's really works well. It does a job. It's smart, and it's a good application of AI, and it feels non intrusive. I also spend a lot of time in Midjourney. It's half hobby, half research, half trying to inform my aesthetic and build taste, half, yeah, learning, growth, and I'm also using like I 4 halves of a whole, and also I'm using it to kind of create imagery for my web projects and the products, the digital products I've started working on. So it also kind of informs my, let's say, product design work. And then what else do I use? I'm now thinking daily, not once in a while. Yeah, no, I play with, content generation tools. I like Higgsfield AI, if anyone wants to try it. It's a very low barrier entry to people who want to generate portraits of themselves with AI, and very interesting, like, effects in videos, and it's really user friendly. Then, yeah, occasionally AI features in Miro, or AI features in Notion, or AI features in Figma, or AI, right? So it's just those
Yeah.
parts where you rely on some AI help because now it's there and it's hopefully valuable. But yeah, I think that's it.
I love that response because I think too, I'm like, oh, ChatGPT is like my bestie, right? And we have this whole, thing together. But then I use Riverside for everything to do with podcasting and here at UX Cam, and the AI there is like getting so incredible, right? Like 2 years ago, it was like a nightmare to even cut a reel, and now it's like, oh, bam, done, and it's
Yeah.
so good. So yeah, it's amazing. So These conversations are so important, and being human is so important, especially, and I don't want to sound like an AI robot right now, but in today's ever evolving digital landscape, you know, in today's world, we need to have these conversations, and we need to have ethics and responsibility at the forefront. And we need to keep talking to people. We need to talk to our users. We need to talk to our customers. And even though we are creating AI as well, we have to, even at UXChem, we're still talking to people. We're still a people first company as well too. So I love that you join us. I love that we have this conversation. And to everyone that joined us and kept the chat so lit up, thank you so much. Next month we'll probably be having another, actually be having another conversation about AI. And so stay tuned for that. And please follow Ioana on LinkedIn and Instagram if you're not already. And I think that's it for now. So maybe, you want to tell us where people can find you next. I know you're speaking and doing
Yeah,
lots
I'm
of things.
gonna I'm gonna be a panelist at TED. Ooh, I'm going on a TED stage, and it's TED AI. It's one of their central events happening in Vienna in I think 3 weeks from now. I'm gonna be in Berlin next week, going to Hatch conference and then Berlin Art Week, Spatial Fest, a lot of things there. I'm also gonna be going to LA. If I don't think there's anyone from LA joining because it would be too early for them, but in case you see this later, I'm coming to LA. Adobe Max invited me, and so yeah, I'll be there, and probably South by Southwest next year. And I have a lot more other things, but I don't want to keep you too long. So yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm doing AI art generate, kind of do art on Instagram on AI goodies and soft machines. And I think yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us. And we will see you next month.